You talked about people, planet, purpose. So it reminded me of the triple bottom line, which is this nebulous thing that a lot of business people talk about. And their three P's are people, planet, profit. And it's this ideal of conscious capitalism. And it's a really tough thing for a lot of businesses to grasp, right? It's this or that. So I want to hear about people, planet, purpose, and your thoughts on the triple bottom line.
The way Traverse was created was very much guided by that thought of conscious capitalism. The idea being uh, business has externalities, right? They can be positive externalities, like a positive impact on a local community. They can be negative, like a negative environmental impact, for example. And
Hmm.
so, how can we build a business like Traverse to have the most positive impact that we can? And people, planet, and purpose is that we really steer away from the idea of like helping or like any kind of one way direction, because travel is transformative both for the traveler and the communities that you're visiting. So that the people part is really about that exchange. It's about the transformation part on like being a traveler and expanding your worldview, but also like who you're visiting, like they're impacted by it too. Of course, travel does have its negative carbon footprint, of course, because you are traveling. But how can we travel in the most sustainable way possible? Everything from bringing your reusable water bottle and reusable bags, but also like mitigating plastic whenever we can. Also, we do a lot of like farm to table meals. We support local sustainable agricultural projects. Like we, in Mexico, for example, visit botanical gardens and we do a cooking class that all uses like local ingredients. So not only are you using like locally produced ingredients, but ones that are like native to that region of Mexico, and you get to learn about the history and why it's important. Of course, food and culture are always connected. We do that actually in Jordan too. I have a cooking class and do some like wild herb foraging. So like
Wow.
the planet aspect is like not just the sustainability on the travel piece itself, but like learning about it.
Mhm.
And then the purpose goes back to that like meaningful travel, being a positive economic aspect in the local community, like bringing those tourism dollars to the local community rather than it being spread out through major corporations, for
Mhm.
example. And then also just purposeful in the sense of like you're traveling with meaning. You're traveling to improve yourself, really. I mean, like travel is so transformative.
Yeah. I think it's a lot for people to digest. Somebody who is new to responsible travel, how could they think about getting started and making their trip or their next experience more sustainable? What are some simple ways that people can kind of get their foot in the door on this subject?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many ways. It's going to depend on if you're planning your own travel, if you decide to, join a group. Obviously, if you're going to join a group trip, look for small, like 12 and under, because you have less of an impact there. And
Mhm.
read their about page, read their responsibility page. Like, do they take into mind like responsible travel and the impact they have on local communities and the local environment? So if you're looking for group trips, look for some of those like key aspects.
Mhm.
If you're doing it on your own, there's some really simple things like going in shoulder seasons is really great. That could be spring or fall. It's going to depend on the destination and the weather,
Mhm.
but you'll actually probably get better prices, and it actually also benefits the local community because they're not getting as many tourism dollars in those times, and it
Mhm.
also takes the strain off of really popular destinations and sites that
Yep.
are, there's a word, over tourism, that are being over visited at any particular moment in time. So looking for shoulder seasons or off the beaten path. I mean, everyone's got their bucket list sites that you want to see, like got to go to the Eiffel Tower, right? But like, what else can you build in that is maybe it's like a bike ride, or maybe it's something, like you find a restaurant or something like that that's really like a small and local place. So building in things that are off the beaten path more is also good.
Mhm.
Looking for like locally run like accommodations, like bed and breakfasts, is a great way to go. You know, um, Obviously a lot of people love Airbnb, but there's also like traditional bed and breakfasts that you can look forward to, and that can be a great way to support the local community and economy. You can look for chances to give back. There are a lot of social enterprise establishments. It might take a little more research, but like for example, in Phnom Penh, there's a couple of really great restaurants where everyone who works there, it's juvenile youth who are in apprenticeship programs, and they have backgrounds with like without family or troubled. It has given them an opportunity to like find a better way of life via profession. Visiting sustainable agricultural projects, that might sound really big, but like go to a farmer's market, I
Yeah,
mean,
there
like
you go. Yeah.
truly,
Yes.
there's so many little things you can integrate into your itinerary that actually make a big difference for you and the local.
Those are a lot of really great examples. And I'm curious, so I travel just like you, off the beaten path. Haven't been to the Eiffel Tower, much to some people's chagrin. Like, how could you not go to Paris? It's like, well,
I've never been either, so
it's like the Canary Islands were calling and I answered, and that's a place most people haven't been. I want to go a little bit deep with you and get into some of these off the beaten path places. Have there been some surprises or learnings for you?
I think a great example of this is India.
Okay.
I've been to India a few times, and we do have an itinerary there that I spent quite a bit of time researching and building to be different. Because the thing is, India as a tourism destination, like they go big. Like India is all about like has big hotels and like it has these the Golden Triangle and the Taj Mahal and like like these places that everyone thinks of as India. But India is a huge country with so much diversity. And so I like with India was like, okay, I need to pick like an area to focus on because you can't possibly see all of India in one trip or one lifetime, probably. And the other thing is that it's very, there's like these very mainstream routes, and it's very actually difficult to find what we usually do, which is like small guest houses to stay in and like farm to table food. It's just so different there as far as like the environment for tourism that's already kind of pre-existing. So I have some really incredible on the ground partners there. So I spent a ton of time like researching and doing site visits and going to all these different little like hotels and places, and really finding like the guest house style accommodations that are like these amazing like boutique places with
Wow.
cool design from like a local artist, and like food from a farm that's like organic farming that is not always well embraced. It's maybe more and more so, but not always
Mhm.
in that region. So, and then also to the point of like, yes, I mean, if you're going to be in northern India, like you should see the Taj Mahal because you are right there, and it
Sure.
is really incredible and it's really amazing. But there are also so many other sites as well. When you're building trips, like there are some things you really can't get around. Like there are a lot of things that are set in India that are just the way it is there.
Mhm.
But with some like digging and talking and asking, like how can we just make it like a little bit more sustainable and have a bigger impact, so that maybe 10, 20 years down the road it is more of a norm to be able to go to India and stay at a small locally run bed and breakfast versus a big hotel.
I'm inspired by the idea of like, okay, if you don't see something at the surface, if things are built a certain way for tourists. So I love that you had to really look hard and then you found it. And the idea that you're staying in a guest house with local art and food that's grown right there. It's like, that's it. And that's exactly what we as travelers need to do. Stay curious.
We want you to feel like grounded in a place while you're visiting it.
How to share, it's your story, how to share, how to share.